Colm, we catch our breaths. I have to confess, you see the fixtures and you think, okay, maybe the first one will be interesting, but we've witnessed a dramatic day in HQ.
Brilliant afternoon, Jonathan. Great football, two great semi-finals. Tactically, both matches were different, but lots of good tactics on display. But really entertaining day, and looking forward now to the Leinster final in 2 weeks' time.
We'll have to rewind back to the first game, which seems like a lifetime ago. This was the one that we thought was going to be even and balanced, and it was very much. We needed extra time to separate the sides.
Yeah, no, in fairness, I'd say Louth probably should have won the match about 3 times, and that's a credit to Offaly. Offaly never gave up, and the fighting spirit, maybe on behalf of Liam Kieran, but they were brilliant to wear, and they fought tooth and nail to the end. But Louth probably shaded it on quality. They were set up very well. I think tactically, the placing of Kieran Downey sort of behind all the attacks, and him running on late really paid dividends, with him scoring 7 points from play in the before extra time. But so they were really good. Tactically, as I said to you, it was a great game, watching the teams trying to cancel each other out and bringing on their subs and trying to have their finishing teams. But I think Louth shaded and deserved it in the end for that match.
It's funny, like you think about a Louth sharpshooter. I know he's coming back from injury, but you're thinking of the centre forwards. But it's not. It was the full forward, in fact, as he touched on there, that did all the damage. But I suppose the roles flipped in extra time.
They did, yeah. Now, like when you have a player like Sam Leroy, you want him on the pitch as long as possible. It wasn't going from the first half, but he hasn't played football. I think in 6 or 7 weeks he's been injured, and he's made a really good comeback. They reckon he'd be out for 12 weeks, so he's back ahead of time. So you can see he definitely got better in the end, and they positioned him closer to the goals there, where maybe the first match he was out around the middle and kind of making things happen, but he moved in and he hung in there, and he spun and he looped, and his accuracy, he got his eye in. Once you get that first kick and the confidence builds, you could see he was demanding the ball afterwards, and a credit to them. And it's brilliant to have people like that who can score at will. So they had Kieran and Sam, and they had scorers everywhere in the pitch. They had a lot of scorers. I think as we discussed, they might score something like 25 from play, which is outstanding shooting in fairness to them.
The key was, well, I thought for Louth was that we were able to go on those busts. It was 6 in the second half of normal time, and then I think 6-1 in the first half of extra time. Ultimately, they were the kind of deciding factors.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like what happens when you go into them leads is you go into survive mode then sometimes, and you let the team come on top of you, and sometimes that's a difficult lead, believe it or not, to defend when you're 5 and 6 in front, and you're looking at the clock going down, and then before you know it, a goal goes in. Like both times when Offaly made their comebacks, they got their goals, and the goals gave them a big shot, so they were closing 5-point leads down to 3-point leads, which always made the game interesting. So anytime Louth were 5 or 6 in front, Offaly seemed to get the goal twice, and that brought the leads back, and brilliant finishes at the end. And even at the start of extra time, Offaly started with the brighter team. They scored the first point, and they had another chance to go ahead, and they missed that. So it could have been very different had they have those scores gone over.
So Mickey Hart has worked his magic again, and you can just tell even from chatting him just downstairs there, he is just cannot wait for this Leinster final.
Oh, without doubt. Like, see, I think what they'll do is they'll bring something different. Like they played Dublin here in the league match in Croke Park, right, and were fairly competitive for 3/4 to it, and that's brilliant to take away and to give the confidence to the team and train. I think they'll try something. I think they'll practice something and train, and they'll bring something different to it. He's not afraid to make changes. Like he brought in Dylan McKeown there today, who was only on the panel 3 or 4 weeks, and he scored 2 points. So he did his job in the first half. He replaced him then and brought in fresh legs, and he has his team very well conditioned. He's got speed all over the park. If you look at an awful lot of things that's been different from Louth this year, is the defenders chip in with 3 and 4 points per match. Like you see Niall Sharkey kick 2 points there. Like they're always getting up and joining the attack. He likes players coming from deep, and that's modern football. There's no real positions on the game anymore. The players come from anywhere. He encourages people to shoot at when they get into certain zones, and like it's all good. So they're there on merit. They deserve to be, and I don't think they'll fear Dublin too much.
Of course, it is the first appearance, or will be the first appearance in a Leinster final since that infamous goal down to or behind us there. It was, ironically enough, it was the goal that might have been a goal in the second half of extra time. But Louth, they're going to be buzzing, and you touched on there with Mickey Hart. He won't fear Dublin in the slightest.
No, and like in fairness to Mickey, like if you listen to any of his interviews and his talk, he's always talking about progress and improvements and stuff like that, and nothing will change. He'll be focusing on the lads and saying, look, I mean, if we have another 5% to improve on, who knows where that'll bring us, and they'll be working hard in that in training. Like they'll get back in the training ground this Tuesday. They'll recover from the knocks. He's a good panel there. He's got good fellas. He's got good size all around the panel, and tactically they're very, very good. James Callif in the goals is excellent with his kickouts. You have your long kickouts, you have short kickouts, and your mid-range kickouts. The mid-range for me are key, and he gets an awful lot of them mid-range kickouts away. And when you get a mid-range kickout away, you're nearly guaranteed a shot on goal. And Louth seem to have done a lot of work on getting their mid-range kickouts away.
You've touched on goalkeepers. I think you know where I'm going with this one.
do, yeah.
We are all, there was a little bit. Croke Park wasn't jammed over 30,000 in the end. But it certainly wasn't that when we came in here first this morning. But there was a buzz around the place. We saw this before when he was back on the panel. Now he's back starting. How much of a boost do you think that gave Dublin?
Look, I don't think he put a foot wrong out there today. His handling was excellent. Like Ben McCormick, who had a great game for Kildare, put 3 into the keeper's hands, 3 into his hands, and that's 3 counter-attacks you're giving away. You give Stephen Cluxton the ball, that's a counter-attack, the way he can whip that ball out really quickly. And I think they might have got a score off one or two of them. So that's what he brings to the table. Like, he can set up an attack with just the ball being spun on the outside of his boot. I think it gave him a great boost. He didn't put a foot wrong, as I said. His handling was good. He punched the ball, which is brilliant. That shows that his decision making is clear. The ball was coming in high. It was a dangerous ball, took no chances. Just cleared it about 20 metres, 30 metres from his goal. He missed a 45, which probably he needs to practice a little bit. But the rest of his game was excellent, and made a great save in the 3rd minute. Again, the Kildare had a good chance and a good 1-on-1, and made a good save. That's why they brought him back. He gives the team confidence, and they're moving for kickouts. Well, they know that if they move hard, he'll put the ball on their chest. And so again, when you bring a person that age back, you're always saying, like, has he lost anything? But by looking at that, it doesn't look like he lost too much.
Perhaps, though, the Dublin performance was a lot flatter. It was certainly, we were chatting there during the game, the shot selection in the second half in particular. I can think of one Fenton effort from over by the Cusack on his bad foot. Yeah. He would never have done that in a million years. He shot 11 wides in total. Dublin were a bit flat today.
Yeah, that's strange. I think certainly in the second half to kick 7 or 8 wides, and that's not like them. After sort of scoring so much last week against Louth, you would have expected that their shooting boots were on and the Roy was in there today. But no, I think credit must go to Kildare, because I've seen Kildare play loud this year in RD, and they certainly didn't set up like that. Like, they put 15 behind the ball, and their time there was 15 behind the balls in their own 45, and that's what you need to do when you play Dublin. You have to make it a dogfight. Unfortunately, it's probably not a great spectacle, but it wasn't in trial and game, because with that they made Dublin shoot from kind of longer angles, and they kind of pressed them out, and they pressed off their shape nice and wide, so Dublin kind of took pot shots, which they don't do, as you say. So that's probably something that Dublin will go back on, and they'll say, look, just a little bit more patience, we need to work the ball, we need better ball circulation, better player movement to create them gaps and for their shots. That's what they normally do, but just seem to be a little bit off that sort of decisions today.
It's twofold, really. Kildare have had a lot of bad negativity through the league campaign in general. It seems to be a lot of doom and gloom, and then the threat. It's that much of a drop down in terms of playing Tailteann Cup, but it's important for Kildare to be in the top flight, competition. They've got there, they survived. You can tell how relieved Glenn Ryan is, but they've surely got to take elements of that performance and repeat that. Now that's the key for Kildare.
Look, the thing is, when you're involved in county teams like Kildare, and you have to just shut away the noise. It's about the group and nothing else. I thought what they were done today was really, really good. They kept some good players back onto the second half, so they had a finishing team and a starting team, which is really good management of their group. They set up to stay in the game. That's modern football. Unfortunately, that's what you have to do. Like, they shouldn't be interested in what people think about Kildare wanting to play freestyle in football. Kildare need to. They have the players. Like, they were very unfortunate to be relegated last year to Division 1. Like, they came down on 5 points, so that they're a really good team. And I think there's a feeling around the county that they have better players and so on. So maybe tactically there today they changed a little bit, and it suited them, right? Because they were very, very dangerous. And with the fact that they were staying in the game, they could have snuck a goal. Like, they brought Daniel Flynn on, and he caused a little bit of havoc at times, and he looked like he had a little bit of magic dust, that he could have done something special. So they have that element there. They've got some really good forwards. It's just about creating a system that will get the best out of them. And today, I think it gave them confidence. You could see that they grew into the game, that they were staying, and they were fist pumping when they got good scores, when they got turnovers, when they got things like that, and that's really good to see. And I think they were confident in the setup that they had today, and that was very important, because you need that. And it kind of looked like they might have sprung a little surprise in Dublin. Like, Dublin didn't seem to expect that, because they got back so quickly from the get-go, and you could see Dublin then had to kind of think and change their game and their strategy.
The second half in particular, you're thinking there 10 minutes to go and the game is level. As you touched on it, maybe not one for the purists, but it was an enthralling tactical battle, a pure chess match. Any tactical nerd would have been glued to that.
look, there's loads of things there when you've got a group like that and you're playing against systems like that. It's not about it's about attacking your team, your opposition with your defence. So that means you get set up really quickly, okay, and you have to try to make sure that you can slow their defence down, disrupt any counter-attacks. Plus, if you turn the ball over, you have to go really, really hard. And I thought it was evident there, like in the first half, like the whole full forward line scored, right, and then Ben McCormick scored as well. So the four forwards had scored. Now, they spent a lot of time behind the ball, so for them actually then to get ahead of the ball showed that they were really, really working hard. So that was really, really positive, and that's the way the football's gone now. And what you need to do is you need to be able to replace them guys with fresh legs who'll do the exact same role. And I think they tried to do it, and credit to them. And it caused Dublin an awful lot of problems. Dublin struggled to break them down, and Dublin struggled, right, which Dublin are really, really good at, is disrupting counter-attacks. So what Kildare seemed to do is to move the ball before they were hit. So that was really evident. They weren't carrying the ball at defence, they were moving it at angles, and they got out very, very quickly. So they didn't give the Dublin a chance to disrupt their counter-attacks. Hence they got up the field an awful lot and were able to get into the scoring zones, win frees and get shots away.
I got to ask you before you go, Meads, we all thought they were going to be here today. There's probably elements of what you've just described there that need to be implemented. I think of Galway under Pádraig Joyce maybe starting off and not quite romantic notions, but have a clear, want to play this stylish football. It just doesn't work now, does it?
No, it doesn't, right? And again, before we speak about Meath, one of the main points I think about Louth is like Louth are building this system now for 3 years. When Mickey Hart took over, they were in Division 4, it was the COVID leagues, and they got a couple of promotions, but they got a chance to build the system, and they really have a fine-tune. And again, like a lot of people will look at it and say it's negative. It's not negative. You're setting up to win the ball back to attack. There's a difference thing. You're not setting up to stop a team sort of scoring. You're setting up to win the ball back, so they're to attack. I don't know much about Meath at the moment, but I know when I was there with Meath, like we kind of fell between two stools at the time because we felt that we wanted to play some sort of an attacking brand of football, but we needed a defensive element. And so sometimes you were kind of in between two stools where you're better off probably committing to one or the other. But if you commit to the latter, like the attacking football, you're going to be exposed badly against the likes of teams like Galway and sort of Dublin. So you have to really, unfortunately, nowadays, it's what Kildare did today. You have to really attack, set up like that, and then if you can work on your attacking system from that, that's modern football, and that's, I think, how you see these teams playing now.
Lastly, I'm just fascinated by the discussion. Leave it aside Meath or whatever ground. Is there a place in modern football for old school 15 on 15? You know, let's go out and play, let's go out and attack.
Well, see what happens there, Jonathan, I think is right. A lot of teams kind of would like to play like that, but they kind of morph into whatever their opponents are doing. So look, it's like this: if you drop 15 players behind the ball and only send 10 to break them down, you won't break it down. So you have to send 15 up to break that down. So that's why you end up having 15 against 15 in one half a lot of times. So a lot of teams mirror what other teams do. So again, there's numerous different phases of attacks. There's counter-attacks, there's your setup from your kickouts, and then there's your attack when you're slowed down. So teams will be working on all them, but everybody would love if a team lined out 15 against 15, players will mimic that and will play that. But unfortunately they don't. They're all kind of morphing into what their opponents are doing based on that. But again, for me, one of the big things is, I've seen it there a couple of times there with Kildare, when Dublin were dropped 15 behind the ball regular. So if you don't send 15 players up to match that, right, Dublin have a numerical advantage. They'll eventually turn you over and they'll counter. And what happens is teams get spooked and they don't like to send. They leave 2 or 3 back. So basically you have probably Kildare attacking at times there with 12 against 15. Very, very difficult to do. So you have to manage that. So look, again, you'd like to see 15 against 15, but it doesn't really happen. Even like the days, the sweepers are gone now. It's double sweepers now, and it's extra players back, and it's rotating sweepers and all that sort of stuff. But look, I'm fascinated by it, and I think, you know, there's a move then. People kind of say it's not great to watch. It is good to watch. It's just a different style of football now. And again, when you get a good counter-attack where you've got good combination football, foot pass, hand pass, fellas running off the shoulder, it's as good as anything.
Could talk to you all day about the tactics, but I'll let you go home. Louth in Dublin through to the Leinster final. Thank you very much for watching the games today with us, Colm.
Thanks very much, John. Thanks a million.